What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I am Will Brinson. I am your host, and this is the recap of the first game of Week 10 of the 2022 NFL season, featuring the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. Joining me, Ryan Wilson and John Breech. How are you tonight, gentlemen?
Breech, I will say Brinson was early tonight on Brinson time. He was only 30 seconds late, so I'm very happy about. But
I am sprinting down my hallway to get here before you did.
Your hallway. He lives in this 45-room mansion. But I cannot express to you enough how much I hated this football game.
It was terrible.
It angered me, the level at which this game was played, everything about it. The only thing that saved it for me, Breech, was Marcus Mariota doing whatever that was that he did. That was so funny. I actually laughed out loud, legitimately, at that.
Wilson, what is a bigger disaster, that game or what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter?
That game. I think it was that game. That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. But I think it was that game.
I love you because I didn't do it. By the way, the Mariota thing was insanely reminiscent of what Jameis Winston did in the college football. I believe it was the first college football playoff game, semifinal, when Florida State played Oregon and Marcus Mariota, when Jameis is like falling back and tries to like heave it up and fumbles and they lost.
Jameis just catching strays in this podcast between you and Andy Dalton lover Breech over there.
All right. Let me ask you first, off the bat. The Falcons are a win by the Falcons in Carolina, which was entirely viable. They were 3-point favorites. The Panthers are not a good football team. Would have meant that the Falcons were like in the playoff mix, whatever the in the hunt graphic is. They would have been, like fighting with Tampa Bay to try to win the division. I'm not saying they're completely done, but is it Desmond Ridder time, Wilson, now that they are 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 games after starting 6-0 and falling out of the playoff race?
All right, Breech, see if you can follow this and finish this thought. Going to take us back here. Billy will have no idea what's going on here.
Oh,
Not. Stop.
Is it Ridder time?
Ridder time.
Ridder time.
Terrible MC.
MC Ridder.
Was that a?
I literally know MC Hammer though, so I just feel disrespected.
All right. Okay. You can't. I mean, I guess you can know MC Hammer and not know Chris Farley, but like,
have you been around the world from London to the Bay? It's Hammer, go Hammer, stop Hammer.
I can't wait till our first like HR meeting when I show up in Hammer pants.
You've done that already, so that would be.
I know, but Billy's never seen it.
So here's the thing with Des Ridder.
They're getting tight these days. They should be
during the draft process last year, coming out of Cincinnati. There was some push that he might be a first-round pick, but the issues he struggled with, the only issue he struggled with was accuracy. Does that sound like someone that currently plays quarterback for the Falcons? And in fact, when I had to do the sort of the pre-draft HQ video on demand scouting report of Des Ridder, I compared him to Marcus Mariota, both physically and in terms of the way he played. They look a lot alike in terms of standing them next to each other and their mannerisms on the field and what they do well and what they don't. And Des Ridder can run the ball. He's not quite as athletic outside as Marcus is. But you do wonder after watching this game when Marcus Mariota he's near the bottom of the league in attempts and completions and completion percentage. He's number 7 in the league in rush yards among quarterbacks. And at some point, you wonder if Arthur Smith is going to flip the switch. And I think the reason he hadn't Breech is because, as Brinson noted, they are in the thick of it in this terrible NFC. And now that you've lost to this Panthers team somehow, with P.J. Walker trying to throw interceptions on literally every pass attempt, I wonder if Arthur Smith will now turn to Des Ridder because, we're at the point in the conversation where I can't imagine Des Ridder is so bad that he minimizes your chance of winning by such a degree that he's not worth seeing what you have, because you might have a pretty high pick if this thing goes south, and you might want to be in the quarterback conversation, which is what we all say. One last thing I'll mention, Breech. According to Football Outsiders, the Falcons coming into this game, and it makes sense given their opponent, had the easiest schedule, 32nd for the rest of the way out. And they had Carolina, Chicago, football team, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Baltimore, Arizona, Tampa Bay. One tough game, maybe 1.5 if you think the Buccaneers are back. But now, given the way they played and losing in the fashion they lost, and given the way that Marcus Mariota played, I'm all in for Des Ridder because why not? I don't know. Is there a defense for continuing down this path as Marcus Mariota, given the way he played?
Well, I'll just say real quick, there are a lot of people think of looking at the Falcons record. And I think because they didn't have any primetime games up to this point, so they're always in those regional windows where they're only shown to like 2% of the country. And people are wondering, how the heck are they 4-5? Is Mariota playing awesome? Is it because their run game's so awesome? I'm going to tune in tonight to see if the Falcons are any good. And then you see this circus and what the heck's going on. And maybe Marcus Mariota's wondering, hey, forget benching me. How about we bench our head coach for making me throw the ball 30 times in a monsoon when we're a team that is the 4th best rushing team in the NFL? Why are you throwing it 30 times? You have the 4th best rushing attempt going against a team that Joe Mixon ran for 700 yards in 1/2 against. So I thought that some of this was blamed on Arthur Smith. Marcus Mariota obviously did not look good at all. I don't think I would give the job to Desmond Ridder just yet.
What are you holding out hope for?
Just because, here is my feeling, is that despite being 4-6, despite the fact that you are horrible, if the Buccaneers lose on Sunday in Germany, which is 50-50, you're still back in first place.
If the Buccaneers lose in Germany, totally possible.
You're still in first place. So, like, well, you can't bench your starting quarterback when you're in first place.
Well, let me ask this.
I have a technical question that I asked in Slack, and I'm not sure anybody answered it. Did NFL?
There's been a reason for that, but go ahead.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk to me. It's fine. Did they add average yards per rush to the? That wasn't on there before, right? Am I crazy?
I didn't even see it.
Well, so my point being is, like, you look at this and Marcus Mariota, like the Panthers rushing attempts and the Panthers rushing yards should be what the Falcons did. Like the Falcons should have leaned on Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier and used Marcus Mariota to read option stuff and just gotten downhill in the Panthers, forced PJ Walker to throw a lot in a ton of rain with a questionable passing core, turned him over, and won the game handily and been right there in the playoff mix.
The problem isn't with your offensive philosophy. Breech agrees with you on that because he mentioned that as well. The problem defensively is that PJ Walker threw the ball at least 3 times straight into Falcons defenders' hands, and they spiked it like they were playing volleyball.
I mean, he tried to throw the game away with a pick 6 at the end, and the defender was just like, no, I don't. I want to give the ball to Marcus.
Had one of those
give him a chance to win it.
Yeah, but we're talking about, PJ Walker's impact on the game. So to follow up on Breech's line of thinking there, and Brinson, you can certainly answer this. At what point do you say mediocrity isn't good enough? Because last year, this Falcons team won 7 games, incredibly mediocre. We talk about it all the time, the point differential. This year, okay, you keep sort of pushing Mariota out there to hand the ball off. Don't you want to see what Des Ridder has, or are you like, let's just win 8 games?
But aren't you seeing that in practice? I feel like if Arthur Smith really felt like Desmond Ridder, because you're in the playoff race as bad as you are. And if
you just said Arthur Smith's a bad coach, though.
If you really felt that Desmond Ridder,
Arthur Smith is a good coach.
Yeah, I said tonight.
He had a bad game plan tonight.
Yeah, it's like you're not throwing the ball 30 times. You don't have Marcus Mariota have his second highest pass total of the season. When it's raining and you're going against a defense that can't stop the run.
I almost feel like Arthur Smith was like, because this is where my brain was going. He was like, all right, there's a ton of rain. It's going to be tough to throw potentially if wind picks up. I mean, there's a tropical storm rolling down the East Coast. It's going to hit the rest of the South tomorrow and through the weekend. I think he was like, they think we're going to come out just trying to run the ball aggressively. Let's come out trying to pass, because it was like almost a mistaken attempt at 4D chess.
So let me ask you this to follow. I get what you're saying, but to follow up on Breech's point, and it's a fair point. Arthur Smith sees these guys at practice every day. Maybe Des Ridder's been short hopping passes all over the place, like he did at the Senior Bowl and like he did sometimes in Cincinnati last year. What does Marcus Mariota have to do in order for Des Ridder to get a shot? If this man threw a pass on his back 40 yards down the field, that should have been intercepted.
Well, I mean, he was down when he threw it. He shouldn't have thrown it. But
that wasn't the only bad pass. He made a ton of terrible decisions on Thursday night.
Mariota has a couple of real stinkers. They won when he went 7-19.
Okay, just can you answer the question though? Like, what does how bad does he have to play? Because this was bottom of the barrel, some pretty terrible quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I think it probably boils down to the Falcons are now 4-6. Right. Mm-hmm. They're not. I mean, again, as Breech points out, if Tampa Bay loses to Seattle, as a 3 or 2.5 point favorite in Germany on Sunday.
Yeah.
They still
have to play 8 more games, and they just got
helmet out of the picture. Like we
they
get
still
it.
the Falcons still just
the point being is like, I'm saying like they're still in the hunt, and I think the way that Arthur Smith is designing the approach is sort of like 2011, 2010 Seahawks, where we want a guy who, and I know your counterpoint is going to be he was on his back and tried to throw the ball 40 yards.
Okay, before you go on, do you have faith that can happen? 8 games remaining.
I think that putting Desmond Ridder in now, based on the decision-making process from Arthur Smith and that coaching staff, they don't believe that Desmond Ridder can come in and not make more mistakes than Marcus Mariota.
I mean, that's fair. You won't get any pushback from me on that. It's just that this was so silly in terms of the way he played. But to Breech's point, there's a reason you don't throw the ball 30 times a game with Marcus Mariota, and this is why you sort of have that balance that leans more towards the running game.
Here's what I think
more than 8 carries
is that the Falcons have a bye in week 14. I think if you're Arthur Smith, you reassess right then. If you're still in the playoff race, you write out Marcus Mariota for the rest of the season and say Desmond Ridder starts next year. If you're not in the playoff race, you let Desmond Ridder have the final 4 games, and that's it.
I also think too, like sometimes with these bigger name quarterbacks, like Desmond Ridder went to the playoff, right? At one point. Yeah.
He was in the football playoff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like that's a big deal for a group of 5 team.
They got smoked by Alabama. Sure. I think Alabama beat the pants off of them.
We don't
my point being is that he was drafted in the 3rd round, right?
He's the second quarterback taken.
Right, but like Malik Willis and Ridder, when you're the top level quarterbacks, we make a bigger deal out of them being taken. But going to the 3rd round does not make you somebody who's supposed to come in and save a franchise. My
point is that he doesn't have to save the franchise, but if
you see what you have.
And maybe to Breech's point, they see him in practice, so they're fine with drafting a quarterback next year anyway. So maybe that's the takeaway. Fair enough.
Well, they're still behind the Panthers in terms of the quarterback hierarchy.
I think fair enough. I think the Falcons are done. Like if you can't win this game, and if we're being honest, and Breech, I'm sure you would agree, given your love of kickers, the Patriots, the Panthers should be 2-0 against the Falcons this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can even make the case the Panthers should be
the first game went overtime because they threw a Hail Mary against the Falcons. You could argue that pass.
John, we don't look backwards. We look forwards.
Well, Wilson
brought hypothetical pathway.
Wilson brought it up.
Hypothetical. Is there a path to the Panthers to get to the playoffs?
Ooh.
That's the question. 10 days from now, they play the Ravens. Do you know who's not going to make a mistake and try to throw the ball too much against the Carolina Panthers rush team? Probably the Ravens.
I'll just say quickly, according to Football Outsiders, I mentioned the Falcons 32nd, the easy schedule going forward. The Carolina Panthers schedule going forward, 10th hardest. So it's a little more difficult.
The Panthers,
yep. 10th hardest.
Oh, yeah. So they have the Ravens at home.
Wait, 10th hardest?
And from one being the hardest,
won't let you have a scheduling thing. It's
one being the hardest.
Well, I'm just 5 of the remaining 7 games are against teams that are under 500 right now, including the Lions, the Broncos, and the Saints. You throw the Steelers in there. Let's throw the Steelers in there. And
I'm just
then
telling you about Football
the other one is the Buccaneers, which I'll give that as a difficult game for Carolina. But I wouldn't. There's no way this is the 10th hardest schedule.
I would say the Panthers. Okay, all right. Let's
just continue your thought, and I'll look it up. How about that?
Let's assume that I think for the sake of this argument that either the Falcons or Panthers could make the playoffs, we need to assume the Buccaneers lose to the Seahawks, right?
Yes.
Because if the Buccaneers would be 5-5 if they win,
which again we've already said is not a crazy assumption.
No, it's not crazy. I'm just saying. Let's say the Buccaneers are 4-6. If the Buccaneers are 4-6 through 10 weeks of the season, what is the winning record of the NFC South champion? Oh my God, it's gonna be like
it's 8-9. It's gonna be 8-9.
So 8-9, you feel like you might win the division,
which is why I thought
9-8. You feel like you're like
no, you're winning the Super Bowl if you go 9-8. I mean, okay. you're on a roll.
So the Carolina Panthers currently.
Wait. 7-10.
All right, okay. All right, 7-10. Not 6-11. Probably dead.
No,
I think nobody's getting at 6-11. I think
right. I'm just saying, like 7-10. You have a. Do tell play the Dumb and Dumber clip, Billy. Just see if he's awake.
He's asleep at the wheel.
He's asleep at the wheel. He's on full Debo.
He's fell asleep watching the game. Good for him.
Oh my God, bring Debo back.
You're telling me there's a chance.
So the Panthers at 3-7. need to win at least 4 games to have a Hail Mary prayer of going to winning the division. They are at the Ravens.
I think if they get to 7 wins, the Hail Mary is at the 1 yard line. I think you have to get to 8.
Probably.
It's a DJ Moore Hail Mary where somebody takes their helmet off.
Right.
Didn't Ron Rivera win a division like at 7-10?
I can't. I mean,
7-9-1,
7-8-1. The Panthers, the Seahawks won it at 7-9. 7 wins has won a division before.
Right. So let's just say 7 is a really,
over.
really outside shot. 8 is definitely live, and 9 you feel pretty good. I don't. The Panthers
9 is winning it hands down. 99. I mean
I'm just saying the Panthers have 7 games left. I want to walk through the insane playoff probability.
Let's go.
There's a path situation for the Panthers.
What do you got?
They're at the Ravens in 10 days.
Okay, that's 1 L.
I agree. A week after that, they host Russell Wilson and the Broncos. Now, Russ is very good in the West Coast or the East Coast, excuse me, but that's winnable.
Yeah, I don't think we can look in the past of any Russ stuff to project games this year.
So what do you say? Hold on. What does Breech say about that Broncos game, Breech?
I say give them the win at home.
I think they can win it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, go ahead. I'm just keeping tally here.
At the Seahawks against
Oh, come on, stop it.
number 1 MVP candidate Eugene Cyril Smith
Loss.
III.
You got it.
Steelers at home.
They yeah, I mean, let's be real. We can win that game.
All right,
Let's
so
be fun here
2-2.
and give them a win.
Lions at home.
Yeah.
Win.
Oh no.
By the way, the Lions haven't won on the road since 2021.
I think the Lions is a win.
Yeah,
On Christmas Eve. And so nobody wants to be playing on Christmas Eve. The Lions have to travel.
Charlotte?
Yeah.
Actually, that's kind of a vacation if you live in Detroit.
Disrespectful.
Brinson dunking on Detroit.
No,
At Buccaneers on January 1st.
I don't think they can win that
Loss.
game. You guys have been pumping up Tom Brady like he's 2007.
So we're at
3-3.
3 at the Saints.
Well, Breech, can they beat Andy Dalton on the road? What time's the game, Brinson?
TBD. Oh my God, that could be flexed into Sunday Night Football.
It's not. What if that's for the division title?
I don't think it's insane that they could win. What do they need to win? It's not crazy they could win 4 of those games.
Well, hold on. They already played the Saints this season and won. So let's not
They already
forget
played the Bucs and won.
Right. So they could win both of them.
They can win 4 or 5 of these games. They're not going to. Don't get me wrong. I would encourage everyone to put as much as they're capable of losing on the Ravens, no matter what the spread is in 10 days.
So here's the thing. Have you guys looked at the division odds?
No.
Don't look. I have them. Don't look them up. I want you to guess. So
Okay. All right.
coming into the nice game.
What a flip this is.
Yeah, no, I had to do HQ. That's why. Tampa Bay. So coming into the night's game, before tonight's result, Tampa Bay, what do you think their odds were?
I think I know they were coming in. I think it was minus 220.
You got it, minus 220.
And Falcons were plus 320.
Yeah, you're looking at these right now.
I knew it were coming in. I haven't looked at it.
See, Breech, this is the difference. You're honest about what the things you're telling people and not just acting like you clairvoyant. All right, the Saints are next. What do you think the Saints division odds were?
Coming into
tonight's game.
6-1, and the Panthers were 60-1.
Oh, yeah, you knew this. You did the pick show today.
I talked about
Wait, the Panthers are plus 6,000?
So 60-1 coming into this game.
I mentioned this because, to Brinson's point, if you can scrub together a couple nickels and you're buying what he's selling on this schedule talk, you might be able to buy the $8 you'll need to keep things going on that app there.
Obviously, the odds are not up yet on the NFC South. I mean, look, the
How
Panthers
far would that come down?
The playoffs. They're probably going to win.
And let me just say, the Buccaneers seem like the obvious favorite, but they obviously play the Seahawks Sunday in Germany.
I don't think they're the obvious favorite. Go ahead.
The odds makers are saying that. They're minus 220.
Yeah.
So that would make them the obvious favorite.
Right. Sorry.
So they're playing the Seahawks on Sunday morning. They still have to play the Bengals. They still have to play the 49ers. So it feels like they have more difficult games left. Not the most difficult schedule, but they have more difficult games than the Panthers or...
Refresh my memory, Breech. Wasn't it you and Wilbur telling me that Tom Brady's back after beating a dog crap Rams team that has 2.5 players?
Yeah, I said Tampa Bay would probably win the division. That doesn't mean Tom Brady's back. I don't think I said that.
You guys
I'll tell you what.
He could get hot in the playoffs.
Let's take a break, and when we come back...
Brinson said that.
Okay.
We'll discuss whether or not the Falcons still have a chance at making the playoffs next. So, again, we don't have division odds that are updated. It'll probably happen in like the next hour or so. I mean, I think Tampa's a runaway winner here until they lose on Sunday morning.
That's the thing. I mean, this division is terrible.
It's
and
I want 6-10-1. Can we get 6-10-1?
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
That'd be so great.
I mean,
do you know how many
Tampa
hot
Bay
takes would be from like old people who are like, wait, time to do away with the playoff system and get rid of the division winner, have a host of the team.
Yeah, I don't know where people would go to yell about things. That'd be like the old school, like
just yell at the clouds.
The phone hotline, the party lines.
Google Reader.
Google Reader. Yeah, I don't know. The Falcons, I wish they'd won this freaking game because, as I mentioned, their schedule is incredibly easy going out. Chicago football team, Pittsburgh bye, New Orleans, Baltimore, Arizona, Tampa Bay. But as you guys are noting, they've already the Panthers have already beaten Tampa Bay. They've already beaten New Orleans. They should have beaten the Falcons twice. Carolina could be a better football team. Like Atlanta stinks. And
the whole division stinks.
I will say this, though, and just like last year, Atlanta somehow continues to exceed expectations. But most of us thought, what was their over win total coming into the year, Brinson? It wasn't even 5, was it?
Atlanta was 5.5. I think Bears and Atlanta I think the Texans were 4.5 and Bears and Atlanta were 5.5.
So Bears, I think, are a better football team than that with personnel. The Falcons are not, but they're finding ways to win games.
Yeah.
Make of that what you will in terms of long-term success. But it's
Donta Foreman. By the way, notable that Donta Foreman, and I don't want to lean on the revenge game angle here, but we're seeing this. Did you hear what they said on the broadcast? Last year, before he was picked up by the Titans, he was cut by the Falcons in the preseason, and he was going to go focus on his trucking company, and then ended up coming back to the Titans. Henry gets hurt, and he goes bananas. Gets picked up by the Panthers this year. It was a trade or free agent signing, and has 248 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns on 57 carries against Atlanta in 2 games this season. I don't know what to tell you. Revenge games are real, guys.
Breech, do you think revenge games are real?
Yes, to an extent.
Do you think this is a revenge game for Devonta Foreman, who spent 24 hours in Atlanta?
There's like 2 of them.
I feel like he probably wanted to go out there and make a point and say, you guys have running back by committee and I couldn't make it. How about I run for 130 yards on you and then have the last laugh, and then everybody gets to see you lose on national television. You can't even tackle me.
But doesn't that say that he just can't get motivated for games like last week against the Bengals when he ran for a handful of yards?
It's hard to run the football when you're down 35-0 in the first quarter. So the Falcons rest of the season.
Be easier.
10 days from now, they have the Bears at home, at the Commanders, Steelers at home, at the Saints, at the Ravens, Cardinals at home. Yeah, that's kind of easy.
So is tonight's game. They could have won 8 games if they won tonight's game. Like you could find a way to that.
It's a really bad loss.
They're not winning 8 games. No, they're done. They're done. They're not going to the playoffs. I would bet on the Panthers before.
Oh, sorry, they have the Bucks too in week 18.
You would bet on the Panthers before the Falcons now?
Did you see the game Thursday night, Breech?
Yeah, it was the Falcons' worst game of the season by far.
And they should have lost 10 days ago to the same team.
Oh my God, they should have beaten the
Chargers. But then they should have beat the Chargers when they recovered a fumble and fumbled the fumble recovery.
Oh my God, scroll up.
And they should not have lost to the Panthers 10 days ago.
Scroll up. How many wins did they have in a row? Did they lose before the Panthers? Okay, they lost the Bengals badly. Oh my God, they really should.
They're not making the playoffs.
They should have 6 wins right now.
They blew a 26-10 lead in week 1. Lost by 4 to the Rams. Didn't get the ball back against the Buccaneers because of the phantom roughing the passer, and that was a 6-point win. And then the Chargers game, they fumbled away the fumble recovery that would have kept the Chargers game winning.
That's my favorite sentence.
I mean, just to spin this a little bit, like, shouldn't we give the Falcons credit for doing what they're doing with what they have versus?
I just did that. That's exactly what I was doing. Wasn't I? When I said that, I talked about the win totals, and I said they
like anything you're saying is optimistic or nice at the moment. No.
Yeah, I was overly optimistic. I'm not saying the Falcons are good. I'm just saying this division is horrible, and I am not counting any team out.
I mean, they lost to man.
I just cannot get out of my head the vision of Marcus Mariota on his back, trying to hit the scoreboard with the pass.
Doing his clown throw.
You already know you're down, and you're lobbing the ball up in the air. Like, what?
Here's the thing. Like, if he was like 7 years old and he did that, you're like, okay, whatever. He's trying to make a play. Like, what is the explanation for a man in his late 20s, early 30s, Breech, for making that throw? Because that feels like something that you would do when you played Division III football and was the best player on the field as the punter.
I did that once in a basketball game. So it is something I would do. And there is no reason to throw that ball at all, like whatsoever. Even if he knew he was down, it just makes the whole thing look like a circus. You get laughed at the field, unless he did it because he wanted to trend on Twitter and he had some crazy bet going. Hey guys, I bet I can get trending on Twitter tonight. But there's no reason to make a throw that stupid.
Like if he made that throw and then you cut to Ken Dorsey acting the way he acted, you'd be like, yeah, 100%. That's exactly how the offensive coordinator should respond to that pass from a veteran quarterback.
Wilson, I have a question for you.
Proceed.
In 2021, on April 29th of 2021, the Atlanta Falcons used the 4th overall pick on Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
he has made the Pro Bowl. He had a historic rookie season. And yet, despite having this like kind of wide receiver, kind of tight end, insanely athletic.
He's Darren Waller.
Right. He's a more athletic Darren Waller.
I mean, yeah.
On a rookie contract.
I don't know. Like, I have no idea.
Okay. So, like,
you guys, I think Arthur Smith is doing a good job as well, but those are some hard questions to find answers for. Like, you have Drake London, who actually got the ball rolling on the turnover that ended up being another turnover that cost them the game last week. Good player.
I think Drake London's a good player.
Absolutely a great player. I had a scout tell me last year before the draft, he wrote him up as Devontae Adams, and I think he has a chance to be that player. Not on this team because the quarterback situation is in a dire situation in terms of passing the ball, but you have him, you have Kyle Pitts, and presumably, Breech, you draft those players because you plan on throwing the football, and you knew that Marcus Mariota was going to be the guy you targeted. They weren't in the Deshaun sweepstakes, were they? Were they in the sweepstakes for any quarterbacks we don't?
Yes.
Yeah, there was
Deshaun.
Okay.
Matt Ryan.
I can't
the Falcons, the Saints, and the Browns. And the Panthers.
So knowing that, I will give them a pass because I think they thought Atlanta. That's where Deshaun's from. That's right. I forgot all that stuff. So he'll come home.
You're deep into draft season.
Did he? Was that one of the teams that he said I'll get back to you, or he cut them out early?
I think he was. In the end, he was probably leveraging Atlanta to get a better deal from.
So maybe they said, you know what, we're gonna put these players around you. And they probably had a plan last year, knowing that they were going to move over Matt Ryan. And I don't know.
No. The Falcons were so into Deshaun Watson. That's why Matt Ryan wanted out. Deshaun Watson was going to the Falcons until the Browns came out of nowhere.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, right. So
I do think, but he only because it was like the last option.
But he had the hometown. They had the hometown angle, and I'm sure there are other sort of things. But just let me play this out. So let's just assume that last year they knew like we're done with Matt Ryan even before, and they probably had some idea.
They were not done. They were going to have Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan currently has the largest dead cap hit in NFL history, right?
Okay. Well, let's just assume
dead cap record.
Let's just assume it was going to be Matt Ryan or Deshaun Watson. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That's a fair assumption.
Okay. You're killing me with all these no's here. So let's assume that. just roll with it. I'm trying to get through the math here. So yeah, it makes sense to get Kyle Pitts because he fits Matt Ryan.
They drafted Pitts before the Watson stuff happened.
Absolutely. It's Matt Ryan or Deshaun Watson. So you have Kyle Pitts for Matt Ryan or Deshaun Watson. Knowing that you're moving on from Matt Ryan for Deshaun Watson, Drake London makes sense. Now, when the consolation prize is a guy with no arms playing quarterback called Marcus Mariota, that complicates things for Drake London and Kyle Pitts. So I get that. So I understand why they're being underutilized once you sort of do the back math, once you check your work Breech. But it doesn't make Kyle Pitts and or Drake London feel any better. And I suppose.
Yeah. I'm wrong with he wasn't. It was down to the Falcons, and because Miami was out, and he X'd the Panthers, right? We found out that rehashing Deshaun Watson. Deshaun was like, I'm not going to the Panthers, so it was basically down to the Falcons and.
Yeah. None of that. I mean, the details aren't necessarily important. It's just I'm just trying to get the math on the why it's not working for Kyle Pitts and Drake London, and I think that's why. It was Matt Ryan or Deshaun Watson, and Matt Ryan said peace out, and Deshaun Watson said peace out afterwards, and they were stuck with Marcus Mariota.
Okay, I don't know the answer to this at all, but I'm gonna read names. You tell me, stop me when there's somebody in. It could be the first name, it could be the fifth name, it could be the seventh name. Stop me when there's a name that you would not like Jamar Chase.
What are we doing?
Chase or Kyle Pitts?
Trade for Kyle Pitts? That we said?
Would you rather have Chase or Kyle Pitts?
Oh, that's yeah. Come on.
Okay, Chase, Jalen Waddle or Kyle Pitts?
On the Falcons, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Waddle.
Penei Sewell or Kyle Pitts?
Penei Sewell, because I mean, the poor Marcus Mariota's running for his life.
J.C. Horn or Kyle Pitts?
Well, I'm going Kyle Pitts.
Okay,
there we go. Secondary, it's pretty horrible.
Yeah, but you got. I mean, well, you got to score points, but maybe Kyle Pitts should play cornerback. I mean, maybe that's the solution there. Two-way player.
All right, we already talked about Dante Foreman being a stud.
I will say quickly about Dante Foreman because you like it when I add stuff to when I'm trying to lengthen the podcast.
I have one more question anyway.
He was, and Breech, you watched a lot more Titans than I did, but he was unstoppable last year when Derrick Henry wasn't playing, and it was curious to me why he wasn't being utilized more, not necessarily by Tennessee because they have Derrick Henry when he's healthy, but why he was not a hotter commodity. And I'm not saying you have to sign him to a 5-year deal, but that was weird to me.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't have more teams interested during free agency. He tore it up. I mean, you talk about, we always talk about how good of a coach Vrabel is, but the fact that that team was able to keep the number 1 seed and finish as the number 1 seed in the AFC last season, even though they didn't have their best offensive player out there for almost half the season. And Dante Foreman was a huge part of that. So it was surprising that he didn't get more love during free agency, but the Panthers got a steal.
Okay. Finally, Wilson.
$2 million. That's how much.
Actually, this is a Breech question.
Yeah,
Breech knows Thursday Night Football.
Why is Thursday Night Football?
I mean, if you paid $87 million per game for these games, I'd be so mad. It's so bad.
I would be curious.
It's a long-term play. I get it. It's like a 10-year deal. It'll be fine. They gave him a good schedule. The games just haven't worked. Like
Russell, but Al Michaels ain't gonna be calling. Michaels ain't gonna be calling games in 10 years. He has every right to be pit, except when he cashes checks. He's probably fine. Maybe he feels better about that.
Well, he got the over 42.5. Didn't he get the over 42? Did it go under? Oh, he got the under. Didn't get the over.
I mean, you kind of have exactly what these teams have 4 days off, and we had a giant rut. We had the 12-9 game, the 12-7 game. I feel like there's been a good game every 2 weeks.
The NFL's biggest problem is that anytime people watch an island game, it's criticized because it's not 7 hours of uninterrupted highlights, which is what Red Zone is. And that's really the biggest problem, that sitting down and watching a 4-hour football game is something that a lot of people don't do anymore.
Well, and if it's boring or not exciting, everyone complains about it on Twitter, and that kind of exacerbates the situation. But guess what? Twitter might not exist anymore, so no one will complain about it, and everyone will love Thursday Night Football.
So Elon Musk can fix Thursday Night Football by destroying Twitter, and then no one can complain.
What is happening here?
I think Breech is right, though. So I will say NFL football games.
Finally, Wilson. Would Jeff Saturday have won this game if he was coaching the Falcons?
Brinson just cut me off to get out of here. We hit all the points on the rundown.
There's a Jeff Saturday question I had to ask.
That's what I said. We just hit all the points on the rundown. No, he wouldn't have won this game. Maybe if he played offensive line for the Falcons, they would have won. But to follow Breech's point quickly, I will just say that I think these island games, as you call them, Brinson, it needs to be Bills Chiefs every time. And when it's this pile of dookie, that's when people get angry.
Well, but I mean, it's just, you can't guarantee that a game, even when you schedule it in April, you're like, oh, Russell Wilson of the Broncos, Matt Ryan of the Colts, two of like the up and coming teams that everybody's in love with. You still can't guarantee it's going to be a good game.
This was not that.
Football is weird,
but I love it.
I love football. Wait till March when you're like, God, I would kill for the Falcons. The second Falcons-Panthers game on Thursday night in a rainy Charlotte.
No, we'll be knees deep in draft coverage. You'll be happy talking about.
Right. Follow him at Ryan Wilson CBS on Twitter.
Hurry up.
He's not very.
I don't cover the draft. I will be rewatching this game in March to see if there's anything I missed.
By the way, Ryan Wilson not verified until today when he paid $8 to Elon Musk.
Actually, I hit the wrong button. I paid $80.
You got a purple check mark. Actually, that would be kind of smart to do super verified.
Super verified is when you have the word official written underneath your account.
Yeah, that's right. Looking forward to that.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Breech, for Wilson, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.